Welcome, everyone, to this episode of From Here to There with Andre Thomas and Stephanie Brown. And Stephanie, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. All right. Welcome, Andre.
Thank you for having me.
Hope you're drinking water and feeling good.
Yes, I
Feeling
am.
better than you might have started your day. Really excited for everyone to hear and learn from Andre. So we'll just dive right in. As usual, we'll save about the last 10 to 15 minutes at the end to ask any questions. So if anybody has questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat at any point in time. Don't wait for the Q&A to try and remember it. Just drop them in the chat and we'll get to them. All right, Andre. So tell me about your journey at University of Michigan. When did that begin? What year was it? What brought you to University of Michigan? And did you travel to have to get there? I don't know if you're from Michigan or not.
No, so actually, I am a native of Saginaw, Michigan. I'm a graduate of Saginaw High, class of 1997. My journey to the University of Michigan is a little unique. My first intention was the Michigan B School because that's what I knew about the University of Michigan. And once I got accepted into Michigan, I was in the school of LS&A. And after some struggles, some pitfalls, some roadblocks, I think reality hit me. And reality hit me to let me know that this may not be the path that I'm looking for to get to where I'm trying to go. Honestly, it was I think towards the end of my sophomore year, I ended up talking with my counselor in LS&A. His name was Chauncey. And I kind of explained to him the struggle that I was having. Because I was at a pivotal point where honestly, I didn't even know if I truly wanted to finish because I was having such a struggle and I just really didn't know what to do. So for me, he asked me, he was like, well, basically, what is it that you want to do? And to be completely honest with you, I didn't really have the answer. But what I did know is I knew the things that made me happy. I knew the things that I was good at and the things that I wanted to kind of be able to incorporate into my life as an adult. And then that's when he told me, he said, I don't think you need the B school. He said, I think you need the art school. He was like, why don't
And
you
B school's the School of Business, right?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
the School of Business. And knowing what I know, I would have never got into the School of Business. It just, at that point in my life, it wasn't for me. And so when he told me about the School of Art, I was like, oh, sure, let me try that. But then I remember going up to the School of Art and I had to, do a presentation and I talked with them and say, hey, this is what I wanted to do. And I actually thought they just let me in because that's what I wanted to do. And I was like, no, you have to, you actually have to present your portfolio and different things like that. So I was like, to do the School of Art? It's like, sure, okay. So I worked on for the semester, got my portfolio together and I presented it. And honestly, I was really nervous because at that point in my life, I was a typical artist or creative. I could draw, I do different things like that. But when you walk around the school and you see people's like their water paintings and different things like that, or their charcoal drawings, are like, wow, these people are really, really good. I've never done stuff like this. So I had to take some classes, things like self-portraits and things like that. Well, I was accepted. And so I was like, oh, wow, great. Well, then once I got in there, I had to then figure out what do I want to focus on. So this is where I want to kind of do a backtrack. So for me, I had a misunderstanding of college, to be completely honest with you. And it's not a negative thing, but it wasn't like college to me wasn't like forced in my household. It wasn't like one of those things where everyone's been to college, everyone's graduated. That wasn't my situation. Mine was more of a just kind of like figure out something to do. So when I was there, they started talking about different areas of expertise. And I was like, I had no clue. I just thought you come here and you draw, like literally that's what I thought. And what ended up happening is I remember talking to someone and I was going around kind of checking out the different classes, and I fell in love with jewelry design and metalwork. And because at that point in my life, where I was, it was the hip hop culture, jewelry and all this stuff. I was like, I want to do that. And Jacob the jeweler was probably the most known jeweler at that time. I was like, that's what I want to do. So I took that class, and that made that my focus. And then I had my other kind of side focus was the graphic design classes. And you fast forward, I learned so much through the School of Art and those jewelry design and metalwork classes, because I realized that there was more to the art form than just basically getting a piece of metal and putting a bunch of diamonds on it. And my professor at that time, his name was Kevin. To be honest with you, I think he despised what I wanted to do, because he always would tell me, he said, Andre, that's not real craftsmanship. That's not even real creativity. And he said, he said, this is like basic metals 101. Make something, make a mold, have somebody. He said, you can have a diamond setter just plaster something in a bunch of diamonds. And I'm like, yeah, Kevin, but this is where it said, this is what it is, because that's what my reality was. This is all I knew. And he literally, to be completely honest with you, I think he showed a strong interest in making me understand that there was more to it. So he would always show me the things that he did. Well, at that point in my life, I don't think I had much respect for what he did, because I'm like, man, there's no diamonds in it, it's no ice, there's no glitz, it's no glamour. But he said, yeah, but this is a 101. He said, I created this mold, I made a wedding ring for somebody, or I made this bracelet or this piece of whatever. And he said, I would cancel the mold. So he said, after that, they have a 101, they have something that's unique from me. And things, of course, made sense a little bit later in life. I met a lot of talented people in there too, because it wasn't just about jewelry. I mean, people you could do like utensils. I made a chair in there. I made just so many different things. So it forced my mind to look beyond really the person who I was. And that was difficult for me. It was really difficult. And to be honest, if you fast forward, I'm a big sneaker collector. And so that's really where, that's what was the pivotal point and sent me to the direction that I'm in now. I took a fibers class and I learned to silk screen. And then I was like, this is how you put an image on fabric. I learned how to dye. I was doing weaving, all types of stuff that, people like, this is what you do in college. But it was, if it's not what you do, you might find it difficult. And I just gained a lot more respect for the people in the school. And from there, I wanted to start making t-shirts. And a lot of that had to do with the friends I was around. And, I might go to the Union for like an icebreaker or some type of party, and everybody dressed the same because we were all shopping from the same place. You either were going to Briarwood or you would go to Ypsilanti and go to like Puffer Reds, and everybody was buying the same clothing. And I wanted something that was different. And I just kind of realized the importance of being unique and being my own self. And I literally just started printing t-shirts. I had no end game. It was temporarily. And I think I did it it might've been like a year before I graduated is when I really started. And from there, things just kind of, it's a slow snowball effect. Of course,
before you go into the future,
yes,
I just want to highlight something that you mentioned, because I think that it's still very relatable to this day. Were you the first in your household to go to college, or first in your family?
No, I wasn't the first in my family to go to college. I was the first in my household to graduate with a bachelor's degree. Yes.
Okay, awesome. And kudos to you for that accomplishment. I think that your experiences into college and even going to college and not really having a strong understanding of what the purpose was, I think that's really reflective of your surroundings, right? And I think that that's the case for a lot of people who, even if they do have family members who did go to college, maybe they were in business or maybe they were in medical, or, no matter what it is, whether they were there or not, it creates a singular image and story right? And then you take that with you into your space. And I think it's really fascinating how, you went to college, not really sure, and then even having that experiences in the metalwork and not really being of the mindset to understand the value in a one-of-one type of piece. But then to see how it seems like you started to understand that, getting into fibers and with the shirts and like, okay, there's something about actually having the only one, or having something that not everybody can just get from the mall, or from an original space. And I think that also makes sense with my husband's also a sneakerhead, so I can also see that value in there too. But I think that's really important, because that's also a reflection of the networking you were doing too, and how that's continued to expand your mindset. So when you tell me a little bit about from your senior year leaving University of Michigan, what was on your mind? It's like you weren't even trying to do this college thing, but you did it. You ended up in the School of Art and you graduated.
Yes.
So, what was on your mind during your senior year? Were you excited to go? Did you have a better understanding of what you wanted to do? Were you planning your next steps, or were you just like, I'm gonna go home and figure it out?
Well, to be completely honest and transparent with everyone. So of course, at that point in time, I thought I knew everything.
Of course.
I had no plan, but in my mind, I can remember I actually had a lot of anxiety because people were graduating. And my thing was like, okay, but what type of job do I get now? I've never seen anyone graduate say, hey, I'm going to be a jeweler, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that.
All these new skills, but no like job per se.
Nowhere. So like my professor, he worked for himself. Things just they didn't really make sense to me. But I did, like I said, took some graphic design classes. And so I was like, well, maybe I could do something with that. But to be completely honest, I wasn't that good. And I knew that I wasn't that good because I compared my work to a lot of the other people's work. And I was like, no, they're better. But the one thing that I did know is that with the shirts that I had, I knew I had something. I didn't really know what I had, but I knew I had something. And I want to just kind of put this part of the story in there. So when I started the company, I got $800 and started with this one design. And I remember having it on campus, and it was like, I think it was like at an icebreaker. One of my college buddies and some of my other friends, we were wearing the shirts. And what I did notice was that people continued to ask, oh, what is that? That's nice. Where'd you get that from? Because they had never seen it. So it stood out. And I was just like, oh, it's just something I made for myself. And then they were like, well, I saw so-and-so with it. Your friends. Yeah, well, that's my friend, so he can get one. But what I realized, it led to people wanting to be a part of something. And I didn't want to sell them anything. So I didn't make it to sell. I was really making it literally to satisfy something within me. And I learned, I was like, wow, people want to be unique. People want that exclusivity. Like my professor said, that one of one, or maybe there are only 25 of them in existence. And you know that 150 people want it, but you're one of the 25 that has it. So when I graduated, I had already started selling the shirts. I used to sell them out the back of my car, some out my dorm room, literally because I did start selling them to people on campus. And I was in the Office of Academic and Multicultural Initiative. It's called the OAMI office. I got hired to do some projects there to do graphic design for there. So I was like, oh, well, at least I could tell people I got some type of job or some type of income. Sure. And mind you, I didn't have any pressure to really have this great job. I think I put that pressure on myself. You went to the University of Michigan, you graduated. What are you doing with it? And ironically, my story took a really strange turn, because I received an email, I want to say 2 months after I graduated, and I got a job offer to go do something that I wasn't in the field in. My senior year, I took a psychology project outreach class, and I used to go to this particular school and work in the classroom. Well, they offered me a job to be a teacher. And I said, oh, I didn't go to school to teach. I was, this is me like, man, I messed up again. So then he responds back and he says, that's a good thing about this particular course, because it was alternative education. So
Okay.
kids, from different backgrounds they weren't allowed like in the public school system full time anymore. And he explained to me that the kids had basically ran the teacher off. And he said,
Oh
we need
boy.
like you that was relatable. And he said, all you have to have is a certain amount of credits and certain like amount of classes in psychology. So I was like, it's interesting. I'll come see what you're talking about. And I go and I talk with him. And I was like, this sounds really cool. Then he tells me to pay. And I was like, what? I mean, it was like half of what I was being paid at the OAMI office.
Hmm.
And I quit the OAMI office and I went to be a teacher.
Really?
Yep. But there's a reason why I did it, because I didn't realize this until my senior year, and I refused to stop and turn around. So anyone listening, I'm not telling you to not do that. But for me, I went on a scholarship. So I had to get finished within a certain amount of time, because there was no one who was going to pay for me to go to school.
Right.
But I realized that I had a passion of working with kids and just honestly helping others. I didn't know how any of that tied into what I was doing. Well, I took the job because I was like, oh, it's pretty cool. And they would allow me to dress how I wanted to dress. So that basically I could wear my shirts and my gym shoes to school. So it was almost like I was a high school student all over again. Well, and I had the summers off and I got paid all throughout the summer. So in my mind, I can run my business throughout the summer and continuously keep going. So that was two key things in I think my ability to propel myself forward.
When you took that position, did you have, you explained the benefits of taking that position, but was it in your mind that, okay, I'm gonna do this short term so that I can build my business? Or did you take that job thinking, oh, I might do this for a while and maybe I'll do my business?
No, so to be completely honest with you, I took that job thinking like, this is what I'm going to do. Because when you've never been, like, I had no internships. So I didn't come from a household where people had like careers, where they say, hey, well, I'm the, I'm the vice president of this, or I've done this particular job for X amount of years. So for me, it was just kind of like, I'm going to have a job. So I was like, this is what people do. You get the job, and I enjoyed it. And to be completely honest with you, I probably would have still been. The only reason why I left is because I got laid off, which I think was part of the universe's plan to push me forward.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the only, because I actually loved it. I was able to do my business. And if you remember what I said, I never really had intended to sell this to people. It just kind of ended up happening. And it gave me a freedom like no other, because I could wear my product to work. I got a chance to do all types of cool things during that time. And the kids could see it. So at that point in time, BET's 106 in Park was like huge. So my team made it to BET's 106 in Park. They were on there,
Oh, wow.
front and center, wearing the shirts. We had a lot of big publicity going. We had caught a really big buzz. And they would be like, oh, Mr. Andre, we saw you on TV. And I said, well, I didn't go. I was here with you guys. But that's my team. I said, it takes more than one person to make something happen. And they thought that was so inspiring. What that allowed me to do was to actually be able to reach them, because I was relatable, and they're literally hearing me talk about something, but seeing it as, seeing it as like, wow. So they had a lot more respect for me. And I think that allowed them to, really come to class. And, they did what I asked them to do, which was really rare at the school, because a lot of the other teachers had issues with the kids. The same kids, they would go to the other class because the kids didn't respect them because they couldn't identify with them. With me, they looked at me as a teacher, but I also think they looked at me as a peer. But everything that I needed them to do, they did. So I was able to turn truancy around with kids. Now they got perfect attendance.
Wow. Where was this school located?
It was in
Where
Ann
was this high
Arbor.
school located? Oh,
It
it
was
wasn't in
in,
Ann Arbor.
yep, it was called Ann Arbor COPE. It was the Center for Occupational and Personalized Education.
Okay. Now, you're not from Ann Arbor, and this is after you graduated. And I know you said that you were on scholarship while you were at University of Michigan. So taking a pay cut, how did you afford to still stay in Ann Arbor? Because Ann Arbor's not cheap. Unless
That's
you were in
true.
Ipsy or a neighboring town, but still, like, how were you able to afford, your basic living needs and necessities, knowing that you were taking a pay cut from the other OME job?
Okay, so this is where we come back to the shirts. So I was selling a lot of shirts. So that's the part that I know we haven't really got to that, but like I said, things really took off for me, to be completely honest. I was literally making more money on a weekend than I was making in a whole month at my job. Yeah.
Wow.
I
Okay,
had
tell me
built
about
it.
that. Tell me about that. Tell me about how you've kind of built that, because I think that'll be a great segue to take us from there and kind of the foundation of you building, the selling of the t-shirts,
Yes.
and marry that to, after being laid off and feeling like the universe was propelling you to do what you were really called to do.
So like I told you, I was getting stuff made and I was wearing it, and everything that I did was exclusive. So I might just say, for example, having a white and orange shirt, but that white and orange shirt wasn't for sale. The ones that I had for sale might have been white and blue, but I had white and orange shoes. So people would then be like, well, let me buy this or let me buy that. I'm selling shirts for like $20. Well, people then began, how can I get something exclusive like you? So therefore I realized, I said, well, I can do that for you, but it's going to be like an extra $5 to $10. Oh, that's no problem. So then things started to hit me. I'm like, people have money, or if they don't have it, they'll come up with money.
You'll find it.
If you want something bad enough. And so for me, being able to do the shirts and sell the shirts literally afforded me the ability. Now, one thing that did help me, and I'll be honest, so remember I told you I got paid throughout the summers. So
Right.
Before I graduated, I think it was for 2 or 3 years, I was afforded the opportunity to go back to Saginaw or come back to Saginaw and work for General Motors / Delphi at that time. So I got a factory job and I got paid really well,
Okay.
really well. So I worked like all summer and just saved all my checks because I was working second shift.
Smart.
I had time to do nothing.
Smart.
So what that led me to
And I'm assuming
was,
you were home while you were doing that factory job because that's your hometown.
yes. So literally I was living at
Awesome.
home, driving to work. And like, I could tell you, like, I would go deposit all my checks at one time. I would have like a month worth of checks, and we got paid every week. And
Oh, wow.
I was making really good money, to be honest with you, really good money, to the point that it's what most people do where I'm from. That's the job that people want to do and they want to retire from, because
But
you
they
don't even
would
have
do
to.
that like their entire lives, and you're just
Yes,
doing it in a summer to supplement.
correct. And so I
Smart.
was blessed with that opportunity. And so I took some of that money and I saved it. Some of it I did do some dumb stuff with, I did young stuff, but um, my college experience, or what it looks like for me, was probably different than most kids in college that come from my background. Like, I drove a really nice vehicle in college, I dressed really nice, different things, because those opportunities afforded me money, and I didn't really, honestly, I had no responsibilities. So when I graduated and I was still living in Ann Arbor, now don't get me wrong, there were some periods of struggle. There really was. There were some periods of struggle where my now wife, who was my girlfriend then, where, it'd be times she'd have to come over and bring me like milk and Pop-Tarts until I could figure some things out. Like, I don't have any shirts to sell right now, or I haven't done this. I put all my money back into getting a new order. And because remember, I didn't know anything about business. So I learned that along the way.
Nice. How are you budgeting and managing or not managing your money? I guess, how did you get better with that? Because obviously it's clear you learned how to be hungry and how to buy frivolous things, but eventually, what did you do to work on that for yourself? I think that's very tempting as a young person. and like looking at bigger checks or having excess money, I think it can be difficult to like, what's saving? Or
So
even investing in yourself.
So I'll be honest with you, besides investing in myself, honestly, I've always been pretty frugal on certain things. And there's certain things that I'm not frugal on, like shoes was one of them. So something else that I did,
it's an expensive habit.
Very expensive. But see, during that time, what I would do, I would get lucky enough that I could say maybe get 5 pairs of the same shoe. I would keep one pair, I would sell the other 4. So that kept money coming in. The problem was I was spending the money because I felt like, oh, I got a few dollars now, I can spend them. So of course, that's what I was doing. So to answer that question, life taught me, because life really smacked me down. It's like, okay, you have no money. What are you going to do? And the one thing that I always knew is that I could take money, put it into the t-shirts, and I could get money back. The thing that I didn't know is you don't take all the money. So I was literally taking all the money. So say if I made, say, $3,000, I took all 3,000, put it back into myself. But then it's like, okay, I don't have money for this. I don't have money for that. So it would be like, all right, well, I got these shoes I'm going to sell. I got this, I got that. And I would just sell them on eBay and different things like that. Or I would use my credit card, and it floated me along and allowed me to learn. And, you know, and as I said, you know, when I started working, so I did have that money coming in, you know, from my job. The checks weren't, they weren't a lot at all, but it was still money. And so being able to be paid even in the summer when I wasn't working, that helped me as well. So I really learned to probably budget and manage money much later in life. When I say much later, I wouldn't advise that to anyone. I would say learn it as soon as you can. Invest in stuff invest in actual assets, not liabilities. I had a lot of liabilities. You know, I was just happy to be making money, and I was excited.
So how many years were you teaching at that high school?
So I taught there for 3.5 years, and then I was laid off, and I ended up getting hired at Ypsilanti High School to be a one-on-one para-educator, is what it was called, where I worked with kids that had like autism or they were on the spectrum. So I was almost like a high school kid again. I used to actually just go to class with them. And I hate to say that, but I was almost like a glorified babysitter. That's really what it was. And then that job ended up ending. And it was after that job ended is that when I was just like, okay, I'm done. And I literally bet on myself, and I packed everything up, me and my business partner, my best friend, and we moved to Las Vegas. Now, there's more to the story, but
how do you move to Las Vegas when you're not good at budgeting and you've been pouring your money into your business and feeding yourself at a minimum? How do you pack up and leave Michigan to go all the way to Las Vegas, where I assume is more expensive, but I don't know what cost of living was then?
Yeah, it was more expensive. So I want to backtrack a little bit. So I had saved up some money before I moved. And at that point in my time in my life, remember, so I was working, but I ended up getting laid off. So I had health insurance, all the things that I needed. And I didn't really value them then, because, you know, unless I needed to use them.
I'm young, I don't get sick.
Yes. Well, when I moved with much of nothing, to be completely honest with you. If I'm being really transparent, like when we moved, so my business partner moved August of 2007. And I was like, okay, I had to get a surgery on my tonsils. And so I was like, I got to go back to work so my insurance will cover this. So, and I was like, after the insurance, I'm actually going to end up quitting. But like I said, the job ended up ending anyway, but I was able to get this surgery. And then once the doctors cleared me to fly, I still didn't go out there. So then he was out there struggling. He ended up like I said, my story is very, very interesting and long, but what ended up happening, it was like December 31st is when I moved. He had been out there for months. He was almost homeless, to be completely honest. He never gave up on me. He knew I was going to come. He just didn't.
He was waiting on you.
Yes. He was actually out there couch surfing, but it's part of the story of the universe of what makes it so unique, because his struggle is one of the reasons why I'm sitting here talking to you guys now, and I have a store in Las Vegas. So what I do want to tell you is this, I don't talk about it much, but the real reason why I moved to Las Vegas was because I turned down a financial deal. A big company, like I said, I was selling a lot of t-shirts. When I tell you I was selling a lot of t-shirts, like I was selling a lot of t-shirts. Literally sold over about 20 or 30,000 t-shirts, like no exaggeration. Yeah. I used to be up and down the highway. I mean, I was going to Atlanta, stores started picking up the brand.
Nice.
Like, yeah, literally. So I'm not going much into it, but I honestly, I had a lot of success, to be completely honest with you. I mean, Fairlane Mall at that point in time was big. They were carrying clothing, all types of stores in Detroit, Southfield, Illinois, South Carolina, just different places. Because what I used to do, I used to travel to Vegas twice a year for a fashion convention. And the one thing about me was I used to really grind. Like, that's the one thing I grind, but I've always believed in myself. See, that's the other thing. That's why when you say, how do you move somewhere and you don't have anything? It's probably arrogance. Yes, my gut, but also probably arrogance, because I was like, oh, I'll make it happen. I'll make it happen, because that's my whole life has been that way. I've always been able to figure something out. It hasn't always been easy, but I've always figured it out. Well, I sat down with a person and I was referred to this guy. He worked for Ford, and he ran a financials on the business. And he helped me, like I was keeping everything, honestly, just like on notebook paper and everything. So he took it all, put it into an Excel spreadsheet, and kind of showed me. He was like, I don't even know you that well, but he said, the one thing I can tell is this. He said, you just have drive, obviously, like no other. Because he said, according to these numbers, he was like, you have the potential to go really far. So I had done 6 figures, basically, just selling shirts on my own. And
wow, is that 6 figures over, like from start to like from year to date of that time?
Well, 1 year alone, I sold over 30,000 t-shirts.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's sad to say.
That's like, why do I have another job almost?
It was, but the problem was I was spending the money. I was doing typical things of, I was young. I was buying jewelry, buying diamond chains, cars, stuff of no value. But when you don't have somebody to actually guide you along the way. So I started also like wholesaling shirts to friends. So like, say if you wanted to sell my shirts, I would sell them to you at a discount, and you could take them and go sell them other places. Well, that led to the proposal of the business offering me for my brand. And they wanted to buy the slogan, live at your own pace. And what I didn't tell people, like, my business didn't start off with the name live at your own pace. It was actually something else. So I turned the deal down. Most people thought I was crazy, but I remember having a talk with my mother. I'm not sure if she remembers this. And she was like, it's a lot of money. She was like, it's a whole lot of money. I said, it is. But she was like, do what you want to do. Basically, kind of like follow your heart. And I said, no. My whole thing was I counter offered. Like, hey, if this is, can you offer me this much? And it was a 7-figure offer, just so that you guys know.
Wow.
And it was more money than I had. And I said no. But that's when I say it's probably arrogance, stubbornness, because I just always believed in me. The average person would have said yes. Trust me, they would have said yes. But knowing what I know now, I'm glad I didn't, because I would have been broke. I was early 20s, to give somebody X amount of dollars.
What you would have done with 7 figures as a 20-year-old, I don't even want to go down that
it would. And the thing is, because I would have thought I could have helped everybody and saved everybody. And I had a pretty big team at that time. So I probably, after attorney fees and the brokerage and all that stuff and taxes, honestly, I probably would have personally walked away with about maybe 900,000 to maybe like 1.3 million, maybe, and that's when I think I started to learn more about money. I started to learn more about friendship, loyalty, and just the concept of business. And I remember just saying, one of my friends actually came to me and she said, I respect anything you want to do, But she said, I'm going to tell you this, if you're going to say no, you can't stay here in Michigan. She said, you have to go somewhere else that you can achieve this dream. She said, you don't turn down a few $1,000,000 and then just stay here selling t-shirts at the back of your car. She said, you have to do something different. And she suggested that we go to New York or go to LA. And I was like, man, I liked New York. It wasn't my speed. I'm really more laid back, probably more Cali. But they were both too expensive. Didn't have any money to move there. And I was intimidated by it. And like I said, so she was like, why don't you just go to Las Vegas? And I was like, sure, let's do it. Even when we went, when I tell you this type of stuff that I've done, we had no plan. Even when we had to get an apartment, they was like, hey, Dre, they need pay stubs. They need all this type of stuff. And I was like, okay. So I hope no one's listening to this, but I literally made all this stuff up because no one was on payroll. So, I used my graphic design skills and I made up stuff because at that time when I went, I wasn't working. No one, my business partner, his name is Dre. He graduated from the University of Michigan as well, but he wasn't working. And I was like, if we can just get a place to live, I know we can still make some money. Like I said, I took some money out there with me, and that was very short-lived. I ended up having to get a job, and I ended up going back working with kids. But it was one of the best things that happened to me because it catapulted me, and I made quite a bit of money at this job. It was very lucrative. I was able to invest into the business, and then Dre got a pivotal position working at a clothing store. And that was literally like our first big chess move, was getting into that store. And the store was on the strip. And it really was kind of like, after that, the rest became history.
Nice. And now you and Dre, you were roommates in this space, and this is the same friend that was waiting on you to come to Las Vegas?
Yes. Yes. He was out there, and his very first day there in Las Vegas, he met this guy. And this literally happened this way. He gets off the plane. Dre's very organized. I wasn't. I just kind of flew off.
Why he's your business partner, I guess.
Yeah. And so he was like, he went to a white party. And he said, I'm like, you're going to parties already? Well, he met somebody at that white party that was pivotal, and that's what helped us. That particular guy ended up opening up a store, a bespoke soup store inside the Cosmopolitan Hotel. And they sold high-end t-shirts. And I was like, Dre, you got to get a job there. Well, that guy offered him a position to be like the general manager or something of that nature. So I said, Dre, we need to be in the store. He said, Dre, they won't take us. Our stuff is not high-end enough. And so I was like, well, what is it that we need, or how do we do this? And I presented, and they were like, it's great, cool designs, but it's not for us. I was like, so what is it that we need? And they kept giving me hints and hints and hints, but they wouldn't tell me how to make it happen. So it was like, trip to California, come back, trip to California, come back, trip to California, come back. Well, after the third presentation, they accepted the brand. And it was like, okay, we're going to sell them for $40. We're going to give you 20, which is more than what we would have got if we would have wholesaled them to them. They did a consignment deal. And after about 2 weeks, they sold out. Then they raised the price to 50. They said, wow, you get 25. And I was like, I was really nervous and I was scared because I didn't understand who their customer base was.
Yeah.
And because I had to switch the whole brand because it's so hot out west, the shirts the material needed to be different. The fit needed to be different.
Super thick shirts weren't happening. She's super thick cotton in Las Vegas. I can imagine.
Yes, no. It wasn't working. And that just put me into a position where, we learned, and we did that store, I think, for 3 years. And we left there and we went to another store right down the street on the strip inside Mandalay Bay. And we brokered a deal with them. It was a sneaker store. So that's where my love was at. And I was so happy.
We're at home now.
Yep. I'm like, now this is a field that I'm familiar with. I couldn't sell shirts for $50, but we still sold them for like 30 plus. And we did that, I think, for 5.5 years. And that was great. And then it was like, I want to figure out how to do a store for ourselves. So we were doing pop-up shops where, you go and buy out somebody else's store and you just set up shop for the day or for 2 days or the weekend or however long you decide to do it. And we were having a lot of success with that. And then we landed into the container park where we're at now. We've been there now for, what is it, 2016? What is this, 2022? Yeah, so yeah, going on 6 years.
Nice.
Yep, so basically, the window of struggle in Las Vegas, although it seemed like forever, it wasn't that long as I realized it was, As I mean, if you ask me in my mind, it's like, I think it was like 3 years before anything happened, but it wasn't. It just took a lot of grit. And one part of the story that I do want to tell is this. So I told you my business partner was out couch surfing and all this stuff. So he's in a frat. Well, one of those guys who let him stay on his couch became one of his closest friends. Well, that guy decided to get married, and Dre was in the wedding. They went to Miami. He was pitching the brand, because I was like, hey man, you need to find some, like a source or somebody, because I had connections to like athletes and stuff like that, but that's just people who would give you money. And I remember telling him, I said, we need more than somebody to give us money. We need somebody that can kind of help us. What do you know? The guy whose couch he slept on had a brother who was pretty, he was doing pretty well, owned his own business. And he was interested in what we were doing, because he said, what is this I keep seeing, Brian, you're wearing it? Tell me about it. Dre comes back from Miami. He says, hey, Dre, I might have us something. So I'm like, okay, well, tell me about it. He said he wants to meet with you. So I went over his house, gave him the pitch, and we've been in business ever since. So I gave a portion of the business to him. And so I still have majority ownership of my business, but that's how I've been able to go forward. So like, I haven't taken out any business loans. Like I said, my story it's really unique, but it's taken me forever. That's the difference. It's really been a slow and steady process, but I'm appreciative of it, because this goes back to answer your question when you say, how did you learn to manage money? After all those years, and then your money changes and you start to make more money, and then you have somebody who really knows business, they're kind of looking like, yeah, you can't be doing that. Or you can't run a business like this.
Like, please outsource that.
Yeah. So, and all those things helped to change my life.
I love that. Oh my goodness. I have so many questions. I want to remind all of you, please go ahead, pop into the chat, drop in your questions for Andre. I'm going to ask him some more questions, but by all means, please ask your questions. I know something that's sticking out in my brain as part of your story is you've been an entrepreneur the entire time.
Yes.
And we talked a little bit about this before, and John and Brian have heard me say this before too, but I am a huge advocate that when you choose to be an artist, when you choose to live your life and have some type of career as a creative, you are choosing the life of an entrepreneur. And not every part of your practice and all of your skill sets may be monetized. You can make your own jewelry if you wanted to dive back into that, but that doesn't mean you have to sell it, right?
Correct.
And so something that I'm thinking about is that I'm sure someone listening to this right now, or someone who will listen to this, is also a young entrepreneur in college, making a little side money with either their designs, shirts, you name it. Now, you'd mentioned that you had some people working for you. So how is it that you established a team, as a student and as a freshly graduated, person? Obviously you stayed in your college town for a while, so maybe you had access to more students that you also graduated with, but how did you build that initial team to help you out with, but also keep your brand, private's not the word, but how did you protect it? I think is what I'm kind of get to, because like you can't do everything yourself, and what your strengths and weaknesses are, and you definitely need help. And I'm glad that you got help. But how did you navigate getting help, paying said help, but also still protecting what you were trying to create while it was still in its infancy?
Okay, this is probably going to sound bad to people, but so before I graduated, remember I told you I wasn't the typical college kid that was like broke eating ramen noodles. Like I told you, I drove a nice car, I had dressed nice, so I had nice things. Well, I was friends with two guys that I met in the School of Art they were highly talented, highly talented. I literally approached them both like, I need you to come work with me. Well, they had saw some of the stuff that they saw. I guess I would say they were seeing the way that I was moving, and they saw that they was like, cool, I want to get down with you. Say, yeah, but I can't pay you. I don't have any, like, it was almost like it's an unpaid internship. I don't know how to really, call it, but we ended up becoming really good friends, and we all just poured in together, and we began to, they did the designs, I did the business. I got this stuff printed, and I was responsible for all the selling. And what ended up happening, the only reason why our whole team actually honestly split was after I made that decision, everybody felt a certain type of way. So some people wanted to move. One person moved to Florida. One person, I think, stayed in Michigan. And then I think he's over in, I think, Taiwan or somewhere right now. All my other friends, they just pursued their careers. The other Dre is the only person, literally, and I want you guys to understand, I never paid him one time.
Wow.
Yeah. He would go work a job. He would this. He literally did it all for free. So what ended up happening is I gave him ownership in the business when we finally actually had something to give. And then after that, it was like everything in his life started to change. So that's really, kind of how things went. But people are attracted to success, or if they see, like, it's like in sports. Most people don't want to go play on a team that's losing. You want to go put a team that's like, hey, I got a chance to get a ring here. Even if you have to take a pay cut, you want to go where you can win. And so people saw what we were doing. Like I said, they had seen us on BT, different, like Funk Master Flex, I think it was, radio show out in New York. It was just a bunch of different stuff. It was some TV shows. A lot of celebrities were wearing some of our products. And it made people like, this was an easy decision. And of course, on the outside looking in, people probably just thought it was just money pouring in, even though the story might sound like that, because you tell somebody, oh, you made, 6 figures. But you got to understand, it takes money to go back into the business. And when you were doing business the way that I was doing it, it wasn't a lot of money, because it was just like, oh, you do this, you do that. Before you know it, there's no money left.
Were you printing like out of your apartment? Or did you partner with like local commercial printers to do the shirts? How did you manage that aspect of the business?
So some of the first shirts I was printing myself, but then when I realized that that's not really what I wanted to do, actually, instead of going local in Ann Arbor, I went back to Saginaw, and I found a printer there, and I was like, hey, can we do some business? And I kind of just talked to him about what I was doing and what I wanted to do. And the funny thing is, we still do business to today.
Oh, great.
With
That was my
different things.
follow-up
So,
question.
yep.
That's lovely. So you're still patronizing your hometown.
Yes. So anytime I can get an opportunity, even if it's not something for me, I refer people to him. Like I talked to him today because he did something for me, like for a local project, because I do consulting and stuff on the side. So I've been able to take and transition my success within the business to do other things. But that's really what I did. I just reached out to other people to help get things going.
I love that. So, we've got a bit of time left. I'd love to just hear your thoughts based on where you are now. How do you, what's your primary role with your business that you created, and what else are you doing in your career, and maybe how do you see your business continuing to scale, or any new business ventures that you are starting or thinking about diving into? Where are you at in your present day space?
Okay. So as mentioned, like I said, we do have the flagship store in Las Vegas. So I'm still the founder and creative director. I do work in the store 3-4 times a week. Sometimes, I set my own schedule. So but I do go into the store and work because I like being able to talk with the people. I still handle the majority of all the men's designs. I have someone helping with the women's clothing. Pretty much I want to say that's it. I have somebody that handles the financials. Of course, we go over all the stuff monthly. Like, for example, we have a meeting tomorrow. So it's because I'm in Michigan right now, there in Las Vegas, it's going to be, via the Google Meets. But we go over and we discuss, and I kind of give my creative direction to say, hey, I think we should move in this way. Whereas my other business partner, he'll be able to say, okay, well, based on these financials, based on this is what sold, this is what hasn't sold, we might want to change this. So he's given me like a formula to kind of, as he always says, this is where your heart can design. So it might be this percentage. He said, but this is where this needs to be, because this is where the money comes in. And that's been one of my biggest struggles, is that I realized that I just actually wanted to have fun at what I was doing. It's almost like I just wanted to be a big kid. And I honestly had lost that desire and passion at one point. So that's now led me to, I do consulting on the side. So I meet with people in one-on-one consults. I help give them blueprints and access to resources to help them if they're starting, like, a brand, or they want to know kind of how, like, hey, what I can do. So I kind of help them to where they can have some shortcuts, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I do that. I've done one-on-one coaching with people as well. So I literally have people that just kind of talk to me for motivation and different things like that. Now, as far as the actual layout brand, we're going to be scaling up, looking for another store most likely, but a lot of it is based on location, and having the right location, because tourism helps get our product across the world. Literally.
Yeah.
We sell overseas to people because everybody travels to Las Vegas. So that has allowed us to be able to go to that level, but we want to be able to expand, but we're going to branch out. And I want to start doing, besides clothing, I'm right now in the process of kind of working on a book, to kind of talk about my story, to kind of even just talk about just the history of how to make some things happen. So just different ways that I can kind of just sell who I am. Like I said, my story can go on, and I know, we're limited on time. I could sit on here for however long people wanted to talk
and
to
we
me.
actually have 2 questions. So I am
Yes.
going to squeeze those in because I definitely want them answered. So we've got one. Would you say some of your success with working with other people, like in college and companies after college, came from your own personal likability or personality, or is that them believing in your product, or both?
So Devin, thank you for that question. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I think people believed in me more than anything else. People that truly know me, that's one of my gifts that it took me forever to realize, just at the age I am now, but people really believe in me. They're just like, no, Dre, you have it. So sometimes other people see the thing that you just take for granted. But like literally people, I think they like the product, but they realize like this dude can sell anything. So they followed behind me. And so that was one of the biggest things. But I think it was my personal, like you said, likability, but the product as well. I made people believe, I'm like, yo, this kid just sold a shirt off his back. If he can do that, literally a shirt that I was wearing, got somebody to buy it off my back. That type of stuff. People like, yo, we got something here. So hopefully that answers your question. But like I said, that came from also just, pulling the right people together.
And one more. So what's your advice for someone who has multiple interests and skills, but doesn't know which to pursue as business? Is it something that you realize with time?
So I don't want to mispronounce it. Is it Razan? Hopefully I'm saying that right. Or Razan? Yep. Okay. All right. So that's a very good question, because that's kind of how I feel like. I kind of feel like I have multiple interests and skills, didn't really know what to do. But the one thing that you do is you really have to sit down and say, okay, what is it that you really love? But ask yourself, what does your end game look like? And what I mean by that is, so I'm 42 years old. When you turn, say 42 or 40 or however old you, if you're 20, when you're 30, where do you want to see yourself at 30? What will your life look like? Once you can identify that, and I don't mean saying, oh, I want a house here and cars there, like those are material things, but what does it look like? Are you trying to own a business? Or like, and if it is, what is it that you want to do? How do you think you can actually make that money? Or you can put your skill set to use? And I think one of the biggest things is to find out, when you're doing that, what actually brings you the most gratification? So if you remember, I said something, I sold in a store that sold, it was a high-end bespoke store. It was great. We made a lot of money. But if you heard what I said, we moved down the street and we sold in a sneaker store. Our shirts were less, but I did that deal longer. That's where I was most happiest. Why? Because I was like, I'm their consumer, so I felt like I was making product for myself. So I felt like I could relate more. So that was something that I had to realize, like, where does that true happiness, if no money came from it, that interest and that skill, which one brings you the most fulfillment? Find a way to mesh that together to then create the business idea. And a lot of what you're saying, it does come with time. It comes with time and it comes with experience. But if you're very observant, a lot of times what I've realized, almost everything you're looking for, the writing is on the wall. It's always around you. You never see it because you're only focused on one thing. Some people have pressure from parents. Some people have pressure from just, like you said, you're graduating. Like, what do you do? Most people, they downplay being a creative or an entrepreneur. And because it's not, as people say, it's not sustainable. No one believes into you until they realize, oh, it's sustainable, and it's sad to say, but it's really true. So that's would be my advice to you. So hopefully that helps to kind of guide you. But I would really say, find out when you're doing that, whatever you're interested in, that skill, how do you put that together and what brings you the most fulfillment?
What I love most about that question is that I think it really wraps into your entire story, Andre, too, because
Yes.
a lot of times, especially for creatives, what we do on the side or for our friends often becomes our end game or the thing that's bigger. But, when we're so close to something because it's something that you love to do, we can feel weird about charging money for it and taking money for it.
Yes.
So sometimes it's really just experimenting. Maybe you are uncomfortable charging for something right now that you love to do and you go find something else. But if the world keeps pushing you towards that thing that you love, you might need to maybe just reevaluate your relationship with money, because oftentimes that's where a lot of creatives get hung up. But everything that you do has a value, y'all.
And I'm going to say this, Stephanie just really said it. Do not undervalue yourself. Do not feel bad about charging for a service. The way that I look at it is this. When is the last time you wanted to buy something or you needed something done and you bought it and they gave it to you? Went into a store and they gave it to you. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but it's probably far few in between. Everybody charges you for something. And you have to realize that even if you go to McDonald's and buy a hamburger, that box that the burger is in, somebody had to design that. That wrapper that the burger's wrapped in, somebody designed that. The paper bag that they're going to hand you, or the uniforms that they're wearing, somebody had to print or embroider those uniforms, somebody had to sew them. Don't let anyone undervalue you, and value yourself. Even if I personally went through that recently with my consulting. My consulting price, if I tell you where it started and where it's at now, you laugh at me. But I was charging people $50 an hour, and I thought that was so expensive until the customers that I was speaking to started to tell me to raise your prices. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not like I was downplaying my skill set. So I was raised like $75. It's like, Dre, it's worth more than that. Like, really? So then I went to like $100. And then I had a talk with somebody and I jumped drastically because I was like, and I was scared because I was like, will anybody buy it? But I realized I don't have to have as many people now, and I free up more of my time. Yeah. And people still pay the rate that I'm asking for.
So Andre and Stephanie, this has been actually one of the best hours I have spent in a really long time. Your story, Andre, is so amazing, and the advice that you have and the life experience you can share. If you could take a minute and let the people on the Zoom and later the recording know, what is the best way to actually be in touch with you?
Okay, so I'll tell you, and I'll also put it in the group chat. So you can actually just email me directly at A Thomas, and I'm going to put it in the chat, at layop.com. So that's A Thomas at layop.com. Those of you that use Instagram, I do have a personal Instagram, and it is I am_Dre, DRET. And let me make sure that's right. But it is it's I am Dre_T. So I'm gonna put this in here. So this is for IG at I am Dre_T. And email aathomas@layop.com. So I always tell people we do have a company Instagram, and I'll put that in here. But the reason why I always tell people don't contact me there, but you can, because my team checks it. So people would reach out there like literally with personal messages, like, "Yo, Dre, did you see this?" I'm like, "This is the business page." So then somebody on the team would say, "I think they're looking for you," or "I think they, But so I'm giving you my personal IG, but I'm very, as I tell people, very approachable. I love talking with people, especially creatives and people that want to follow this path, because I know it's not easy. And that was one of the things. I didn't have a lot of people to ask questions to or even talk to. So I've done stuff. Honestly, I've done a lot of pro bono work for people just because I truly believe in people finding their passion and making it work. So it's one of those things where you really, literally, if you honestly have a question, DM me or email me. I promise you, I'll get back with you.
Thank you so much, Andre. I really
Yes.
appreciate you being on the call and sharing your story. I know it's a long and a big story, but you did great. You did great, giving us a lot of gems. And kudos to everyone being able to watch live. And I'm sure this will definitely be meaningful to anyone who gets to watch it in the future.
Okay. John, thank you so much for allowing Stephanie to put this together. Stephanie, thank you for making this opportunity. And Brian, thank you for everything, as always, that you've always done for me, man, since I was there. And to everybody that tuned in, thank you. Devin, seriously, Blake, Kate, everybody, thank you guys for even listening. I'm definitely appreciative of it.